Hey everyone. Well, I think I said in the last review video about the seasons microtask that that it's a little complicated. There's a bunch of moving parts, and then when we throw in the moon, then there's one more moving part, right? So understanding the phases of the moon singular, understanding the phases of the moon is surprisingly involved. Understanding what's going on, there's a lot for your brain to juggle. So if it's taking some practice and if it's taking some real thought to grasp what's going on, it's because there are a bunch of moving parts, right? You've got your location on the Earth can change. The Earth is spinning once a day. The Earth is revolving around the sun once a year. The moon is orbiting around the Earth once a month, right? All this stuff is in motion. And in order to understand why the moon looks the way that it does, we have to kind of think about all those things at the same time. It's not the easiest, most straightforward thing. So that's why we're doing this. We're doing this to get you the practice to have this make a little more sense. All right? So, what do you think? Let's put this all together here. If you're standing there on the Earth and the sun is high over your head, what time is it? It's noon. Right? Half a day later, now you're over here, the sun is nowhere up in your sky, and the sun is pretty much right underneath your feet. Well, that's midnight. Right? The Earth rotates counterclockwise, so if we're looking down on the Earth from the North Pole, right, let's see, if we're looking down from the North Pole, the Earth rotates counterclockwise. Draw the stick figure showing your location at 6 a.m. and 6 p.m. So if this is where we are at noon, right, the Earth rotates once in 24 hours, so this must be noon. This will be 6 p.m. So there you are at 6 p.m. And then you're here at midnight. You're here at 6 a.m. So there you are at 6 a.m. And then you're here at noon. 6 a.m., noon, 6 p.m., midnight, the next 6 a.m. Because the Earth rotates always counterclockwise. All right. Which means if you're right there and the sun is over here for you, what time is it? Well, if you're here at 6 a.m. and you're here at noon, then, you're here at 6 a.m., you're here at noon, so this is supposed to be 9 a.m., right in between 6 a.m. and noon. Okay. So, all right. So we've got we have a couple of our variables figured out here. You know what? Let me say one more thing that might make life a little easier as of right now. All right? If it's 9 a.m., and you're right there, for you, right? For you, right there, if the sun is off over here and you're there and it's 9 a.m. for you, where's the sun? Where is the sun in your sky? Right? Where in the sky above the horizon, where's the sun at 9 a.m.? Well, it's the morning. It's 9 a.m. It's the morning. The sun must still be in the east. So let's think about, right, where is your horizon? Right? Because, the horizon is always perpendicular to you, right? As the Earth rotates, your horizon moves with you. So, if you're there at noon, your horizon is like this, right? So, since the horizon is always perpendicular to wherever you're standing, I'll rotate this to say, okay, there's the horizon, There you are standing right there. If it's 9 a.m., where's the sun? It's in the east. Right? So this must be east, and this must be west. On the horizon here. Why is that? Well, where would you look to see the sun? Right? We live in the northern hemisphere, right? We live in the northern hemisphere, and therefore the sun is always south of us. So basically, if you're looking into the page, that way must be south, and if you're facing south, then east is on your left, west is on your right. So as the day rotates, it goes from here, and then it goes here. And then east is still over here, west is over here, but now the sun is high in the south. Okay? So, again, more moving parts, but that can help understand not just the motion of the sun during the day, but also the moon. Okay, so here is the moon going around the Earth counterclockwise, right? New moon, first quarter, full moon, third quarter, back to new moon, right? This is why it's new first, full, third, because the moon is also going around the Earth counterclockwise. Suppose you have the following situation. Answer the questions below. Okay. Well, if the moon is here, what phase is that? Well, if we think about what if you're standing right there, right? If you're standing right there looking up at the moon, what does it look like? Right? If you're on the Earth looking up at the moon, we can't see the moon like this, right? We never see the bird's eye view of the moon, at least not while we're standing on the Earth's surface. So we can only ever see the near side of the moon, the side that's facing us, right? And so if the moon is right there in its orbit around the Earth, then from our point of view, standing on the Earth, what do we see? We see a little sliver of light on the left side and all dark on the right side. So what would that look like? It would look like little sliver of light on the left side, all dark on the right side. Now remember, the moon always changes from right to left, right? When the moon is waxing, it's getting brighter from right, growing to the left. When the moon is waning, it's getting darker from right to left. So if the moon is dark on the right side, then that means the moon is getting darker from right to left. If the moon is getting darker day by day, is it waxing or is it waning? It's waning, right? So the moon is waning. And, it's a crescent, right? So it is less than, the moon is less than half, or does it say, the near side of the moon is less than half illuminated, so it's a crescent. So it's a waning crescent, which is exactly what we have up here, right? If the moon is there we go. It matches what we saw before in the diagram up at the top of the page. What time is the moon highest in the sky? Well, if you're standing right there, right, the moon is going to be highest in the sky when it's straight up over your head when you are right there. What time are you right there? What time of day are you right there? Exactly what we had before, right? 9 a.m. So, if the moon is high in the sky at 9 a.m., well, how long is the moon in the sky? Well, between the moon rising and the moon setting, it'll be about 12 hours, right? So the moon will be up in the sky for 12 hours, and then it'll be down below the horizon for the other 12 hours out of the day. So if the moon is... If the moon is just rising, think about the horizon, right? My ruler here is the horizon, right? Here's the moon just rising in the east. If I'm right here, right? If I'm standing right here, then my horizon is out here, and then left is east and right is west, and there's the moon rising in the east. When I'm right here, what time of day am I standing right here? Well, this way is 6 a.m., this way is midnight, so this must be 3 a.m. So as the Earth rotates, as the Earth rotates, it's not, over the course of 12 hours, it's not like the moon moves that much around the Earth. It does move, but not that much, right? So over a few hours, right, I'm moving from here to here. From 3 a.m. to 9 a.m., I'm rotating this way, which means my horizon goes from the moon rising in the east, going high overhead, and then setting in the west. Right? So the moon will set in the west when I'm standing right here. When am I right there? 3 p.m. So like I was saying, right? The moon will be up in the sky for about 12 hours. It'll rise at 3 a.m. 6 hours later, it's high in the sky at 9 a.m. 6 hours after that, it's setting in the west at 3 p.m. But that depends. When the moon rises and sets depends on where the moon is in its orbit around the Earth, right? When the moon is when the moon is a waning crescent, it's always right there in its orbit. And so when the moon is right there in its orbit, then it's high over my head at 9 a.m. A waning crescent moon always rises at 3 a.m., high in the sky at 9 a.m., sets at 3 p.m. But that only happens when the moon is a waning crescent right there. Right? If the moon were a different phase, it would rise and set at different times. Both because the moon is in a different place around the Earth, and because you're in a different place on the Earth. Well, no. You're in the same place on the Earth. Your location on Earth is rotated toward or away from the moon at different times of the day, depending on where the moon is. I feel like I just made that more complicated. But it's just to say, right? When the moon rises and sets, or is high in the sky, depends on where the moon is in its orbit. If the moon's right there, it's a waning crescent, and therefore the waning crescent is always high at 9 a.m. Okay. I feel like I'm in danger of making it more complicated than it needs to be. Okay. Draw where the stick figure would be standing on Earth at noon. Okay, so at noon, you're there and the sun is high over your head. Indicate the direction of motion of the Earth. The Earth is always rotating counterclockwise. The moon revolves around the Earth counterclockwise. Draw a circle where the moon would be on its orbit at the waning gibbous phase. Okay, well, where is the moon when it's a waning gibbous? Well, the waning gibbous is, the moon's going around the Earth counterclockwise, so the waning gibbous is right after the full moon. So the moon will be a full moon when it's over here, right? The moon is full when it's on the opposite side of the Earth from the sun. So right after that is where the moon is a waning gibbous. Okay, so there is a waning gibbous moon. Indicate which part of the surface of the moon, if any, does not receive sunlight. Well, right? What part of the moon is being illuminated by the sun? The side that's facing, right? So this side of the moon, if the sunlight is coming from this way, then this side of the moon will be in daylight, and this side of the moon will be in darkness. So I'll just use my ruler here to say, okay, that's nighttime on the moon, this is daytime on the moon. Shade the circle below to indicate what the moon looks like during a waning gibbous. Well, we can only ever see, right, here on Earth, looking, you know what, I'm going to rotate this, right? Here on Earth, right, if you're standing on Earth right there, looking up at the moon, then we're only able to see the near side of the moon, the side that's facing toward us. When the moon is a waning gibbous, it's a little bit of dark on the right side and all lit up on the left side. So, when the moon is a waning gibbous, a little sliver of dark on the right side, all lit up on the left side. That's what a waning gibbous moon looks like from the Earth's surface. At what time will the moon be high during this phase? Well, the moon will be high when you're standing right there, right? When you're right there and the moon is straight up over your head, or at least as close to the zenith as it can get, then the moon is high in the sky. What time of day are you right there? Well, if this is where you are at noon, this is where you are at midnight. So if this is noon, 6 p.m., midnight, 6 a.m. So if this is where you are at midnight and this is where you are at 6 a.m., you must be there at 3 a.m. So the moon will be highest in the sky at 3 a.m., right? The waning gibbous moon is always high in the sky at 3 a.m., which means it'll rise 6 hours before that. It'll take 6 hours to go from rising to high overhead, and then another 6 hours to go from high overhead to setting in the west. So what is 6 hours before 3 a.m.? That's 9 p.m. Right? The moon will rise at 9 p.m., high in the sky at 3 a.m. 6 hours later, it'll be setting. 6 hours after 3 a.m. is 9 a.m. So, if you want to see the moon when it's a waning gibbous, go a little bit after 9 p.m., go look off to the east a little after 9 p.m., and there the moon should be low in the eastern horizon, if it's a waning gibbous. If it's not a waning gibbous, then it's not rising at 9 p.m. What phase will the moon be in 2 weeks later? Well, how long does it take the moon to go around the Earth one time? About a month. So after 2 weeks, a month is about 4 weeks. So 2 weeks after this, the moon will be halfway around the Earth. So 2 weeks later, the moon will be here. What phase is that? Well, when the moon is in front of the sun, that's a new moon. All right, so the moon orbits the Earth counterclockwise. So when the moon is in front of the sun, that's a new moon. What's the phase right after a new moon? That's a waxing crescent. So 2 weeks after the waning gibbous is the waxing crescent. Sometimes it helps to understand this by getting the bird's eye view like this. And for me, sometimes it helps me to just rotate the paper And imagine I'm standing right there, and there's my horizon, and where's the moon? Oh, okay, if I'm there and the horizon is out that way, and the moon is high overhead, right? So you can do both. You can sort of attack these problems from two different ways. You can either look at the bird's eye view and say, oh, okay, if the moon is here, 2 weeks later it's over here, what phase is that? And that answers your question. And sometimes it helps to sort of zoom in and look at it from the Earth's surface as if you were standing there looking up at the moon. And so hopefully one of those, hopefully at least one of those strategies made this a little bit easier. With a little bit of practice, hopefully they both are easier. I know I went through a lot there. So, it might, if you're not at 100% right now, it can't hurt to sort of go back and rewatch the video and see what I said one more time so that hopefully it makes sense. But yeah, hopefully this is making sense. If it's not clear and you got some questions, as always, post them to the discussion boards. And if it is making sense, then fantastic. You're ready for the practice. All right. Good luck, everybody. Go for it.